Hey, YouTubers, this is Rodney back at you for another mindset for building wealth. Tip 23. Always like lead off with these three things. Um, a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. Um, children do not save for the parents, but the parents for the children. And house and wealth comes from the father. Got to have that mindset, man. That's what it's about, having a proper mindset. Like, leave you with this thought for today is take control. Take control. There's two things that you need to take control over. That's your thoughts and your action. What I mean by thoughts, I'm talking about the proper thoughts. Your thoughts, your desires, your dreams, your plans. You got to have those proper thoughts, the correct thought, because you can be thinking the wrong thing, you can be thinking the wrong way. So you have to have the proper or correct thought or dream or plans to achieve wealth or anything that you want to achieve. You got to have the right thoughts. And secondly, you got to have the right actions. You got to have the right work. You got to have the correct effort in order to achieve what you want to achieve. So you got to have those things. And you must realize that without taking control of these things, you're not going to be able to achieve anything that you want to achieve. And the only thing that we can control are these two things: our thoughts and our actions. Oftentimes we try to take control over the things that we cannot control and we get frustrated. One important thing that you don't have control over, and you must realize that, is when something is going to happen. And I know a lot of people say, "I'll write down the date and all that stuff like that." And when the date comes, you get frustrated or it didn't happen. We do not have control over when it's going to happen, but we have control over the thoughts and the action that it takes for that thing to come about. We just don't know when it's going to come about. In other words, we can put a apple seed into the ground. We don't know when that tree is going to, when it's going to develop the tree, and we don't know exactly when fruit are going to be on the tree. Only thing that we had control over is that, one, I thought we wanted an apple tree. Second, the action, we planted the seed. Those are the two things that we have control over. Those are the most important things. When that tree comes up, or when that stem comes up and be turned into a mature tree, and when the fruit come from the tree, we have no control over. And so what we get hung up on is trying to control when something is going to happen. Just realize that as long as you have the proper plan, the proper thoughts, the proper goal, the proper uh, dreams, desires, the proper for that, and you do the correct action for it, then you're good to go. In other words, this is very simple, and it seemed like, so simplistic. Is like when we go to school, if you're going to school to be a dentist, you know that you're going to take the courses to take that, right, to be a dentist, but you really wanted to become a plumber. Why did you take the time, the wrong thoughts, and do the wrong action? And the only thing that you are able to do is to be that dentist when actually you wanted to be a plumber, or vice versa. You have to have the proper thoughts. This is what I want to achieve. This is what I want to do. This is the plan. This is the action. This is the blueprint. This is what everybody's saying. This is what the expert are saying. These are the steps that you need to take in order to get it done. And if you do what it takes, then when it happens, it's going to happen. Your actions allows you to be in place to receive that which you want. Case in point, and when I use these, when I talk about some, I use analogies, I use them for my life. I remember that me and my wife was going around looking for what we considered the house of our dreams. And we looked at houses that were model homes. And we looked, it took a while, but we kept looking and kept looking and kept looking till we said, hey, you know how it is when you look at, man, you wish you had this from this house, this to the other house. But we got to a house that had almost everything that we wanted. And what it didn't have, we said we'll add on to it. But we saw it eventually, I think it was about a year later. And we sat in that model in the front room and say, you know what, this is the home that we desire to have. This is what we want to have. That's the thoughts that I'm talking about, the dream that I'm talking about. And then we began to plan. So we went out, okay, because we were going to build it. Where do we want to build this house? So we started looking at neighborhood property, where we wanted to live. And my thought was always to get close to be on the lake or get as close to the lake that I can get. So we were looking at property that was in our price range at the time, where we want to have lakefront or get close to it as we could. And we started putting those plans together. That's begin put actions together to get it done. We had the thought, we start putting the actions together. Then we got in touch with the builder, and all of a sudden, bam, what took us a year and a half to get done from the thought to the build, it happened. But we had no control. That was a year and a half. I didn't come in and say, okay, in 6 months, we're going to have it done. No, we put the thoughts together, we put the work together, and 18 months later, we were in our home. Done deal. And that's what I want you to understand. We can only control two things, our thoughts and our actions. When it was going to get done, we did not know. Master that, control that. The other stuff that you can't control, don't allow it to frustrate you because you realize you can't control it. It's out of your control. You never was meant to have control over it. So don't try to force control over stuff that you can't control. That's people, places, and things, and timing, and all that. You may have an idea when you want something to be done, but don't lock yourself in. You say, man, I'm going to get it done as soon as it's going to get done, and work at it hard as you can. Plan it, work it, do it, whatever it takes. And when it's time, you shall have your desire, reach your goal financially, whatever it is. All this, that's mindset that I'm trying to share, will help you to achieve anything that you want to achieve without all the frustration, without the doubt setting in, because you heard this and you heard that. And I'm not saying you could, put a time frame on it, but when that time frame comes and it goes, the first thing gonna say, well, maybe that's not for me. Maybe it's not meant for me. And then you give up. And then you stop way before you're supposed to have gotten it because you thought you're supposed to have it at that time. Don't worry about that. If you have the thoughts, the correct thoughts, the correct plan, and you have the correct action, you're putting in the correct work, you're putting in the correct efforts to achieve that which you're trying to achieve in its due time. When it's time, you will accomplish it. Hit that like button, subscribe. Until the next video, take care.